right, friends, today I'm here with Partha Ghosh. That's how I kind of got to know about him. But somehow I just never got to know about his story from Kharagpur. So I was like, it's very important to know about what Partha has done since graduation or just like life early in IIT Kharagpur. But above all, what I'm more curious about in this podcast is.
So I ended up joining IITian Carbide as a management training. And that's when I first started about leadership. So my mother used to take me to, all the Nobel Prize winners of India actually came from. We passed the test, we were interviewed. I never felt I'm taking a special test. I know there's a test. I chose chemical engineering. That was also a bit of a surprise to some of the folks who were interviewed.
So I'm here today with Partha Ghosh. Partha, how are you doing today, first of all?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much.
So Partha and I recorded a great episode today where we talked about different parts of his life, starting with IIT to going to MIT, deciding to actually stay back for a few years in India to learn about India, and then moving into McKinsey and reaching the top heights in McKinsey, going in different places, learning about the world, and then now establishing a school of leadership, an academy of leadership in IIT Kharagpur. Partha is also a board member at IIT Kharagpur Alumni Foundation, so we kind of like get to interact with each other. So Partha has, what else do you think we kind of like touched on in the podcast?
I think we touched on some very, very good points. Number one, that how India's thinking has evolved over time
Mhm.
and how it was when I graduated in 71 versus where we are today. And the point that came out because of the discussion that today we are in a significantly more powerful position to start thinking about the fundamentals that we need to fix at the base of the pyramid. At the same time, how to use the fundamentals of our Vedic philosophy so the people at the top of the pyramid, instead of getting attracted by the Western concepts of business, develop our own concepts of business based on the indigenous skills, indigenous assets of the people at the base of the pyramid. I think that came out very loud and clear of this
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I think we covered on all these topics. So, to the audience, let us know your feedback once you watch it. And we look forward to supporting young entrepreneurs who are in India to solve real problems in India, abroad, and continue to support them in their journey. So, thank you so much for listening to this. He has done a lot of things for IIT Kharagpur, but somehow I just never got to know about his story from Kharagpur. So, I was like, it's very important to know about. What Partha has done since graduation or just like life early in IIT Kharagpur. Um, but above all, what I'm more curious about in this podcast is just learning about this concept that you have created at Kharagpur, which is called as Partha Ghosh School of Leadership. And we will touch more on that in this podcast as well, because I want to understand your thinking around leadership and what you see as a leadership, because you appear as a very spiritual person who looks at life in terms of how Vivekananda did. And, so I'm very excited for those things too. So I want to stop talking and just like ask Partha, first of all, how are you? And just like maybe get started with like, where are you from?
Well, I'm from this world to begin with, from this planet,
Hmm.
but I was born in Calcutta, and that's why perhaps the spirit of Vivekananda take over, Aurobindo, we're all from Netaji, we're all from that part of the world, has definitely influenced me over time. So that's where I began. And then, of course, as you know, I was in IIT Kharagpur. I went there at a pretty young age when I was only 15 years old. So by the time my 5-year program was over, I was 20, still young. And that's the time I think I made some very interesting choice. I was about to come over to the United States. That was a custom that time to graduate. If you're doing well, you go to MIT, go to Caltech, go to one of the top US universities. And I was fortunate to have about 7 admission with scholarship from top 7 universities, which included. But my mother felt it would be a good idea that I spend some time in India. So I ended up joining IITian Carbide as a management training. And that was perhaps a very good decision in my life. I was working in a camper down in north of Calcutta, Eveready Battery Factory. And that was the biggest factory in the world that time, in the world, battery manufacturing company. And I learned a lot between seeing the connection US ways of doing things as American company versus Indian senior people, the elites, and then working with the people who are literally in the machine. And that's where I started noticing there's a certain degrees of disconnects in our society. And that's when I first started thinking about leadership. And that was, I was only 2021. That leadership should be all about harmony. And as I started studying Vedic philosophy, unfortunately, being from Kolkata, I used to live in part of the Calcutta where Ramakrishna Mission was very close. So my mother used to take me to the lectures of Ramakrishna Mission. So that exposure, my exposure to the grassroots of the factory floors in India, and then exposure to American ways of doing things, I could see there's a significant need for harmony.
Got it. I
Between
think this is a great overview, Partha. I think I want to touch on a few things which you mentioned here. First of all, how did you get into IIT as a 15-year-old kid? Like, was it like, was it normal at that time that people can get into IIT as 15? Because I mean, I think normal people usually get around 17 or 18.
That's a good question. It so happened, when I was very young, I got a couple of double promotions in my school. So when I was fitting my higher secondary, which used to be class 11, and then so that's the time uh, people asked me. By the way, it so happened, unfortunately, I lost my father when I transitioned from class 10 to 11. So happened all of a sudden he had a heart attack. He was a barrister in Calcutta High Court. And at that time, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. The natural thing was once you finish, maybe you'll go to Presidency College, which is a very prestigious college in Calcutta. All the Nobel Prize winners of India actually came from Presidency College. And then I was also thinking, because my father studied in England, maybe he will go to Cambridge and Oxford. That was the spirit when I was in class 10. But then my father passed away. Then obviously relatives started wondering what should Partha do. And that's the first time I heard about it. So IIT application form was brought to me by one of my cousin brothers because there was a lot of sympathy that we perhaps enjoyed because my father passed away. Many relatives started taking interest in our family. And I filled up the form. We took the test. Those days there were no tutorials. We just take the test. I enjoyed taking the test, but I really enjoyed taking the test. We passed the test. We were interviewed, and there we go. That was the process, and I enjoyed every bit. By the way,
Mm,
it was not that I never felt I'm taking a special test. I know there's a
mm,
test.
mm,
Won the test. I
mm,
enjoyed the test,
mm.
and then the results came. It was fortunately very good. I was interviewed on the first day, and I chose chemical engineering. That was also a bit of a surprise to some of the folks who were interviewing me. Good. That time the fashion was mechanical or civil, maybe electrical. Electronics, chemical were kind of coming up. But I told them that, look, I love chemistry. I love petrochemicals. I like plastics. I like energy. I like biotechnology. I want to know and learn about how to manage molecules. So managing molecules, I still remember they were a bit struck by when I used the word management of molecules. That's how I see chemical engineering. And so I got into chemical engineering.
Very cool. So I mean, looks like what happened is like, yes, you were smart in your school itself. The process for getting into IIT was like through interviews. You made a choice to choose IIT
Chemical.
Kharagpur and chemical. And then at the time of graduation, when everyone was like, hey, let's get masters admits or get out of India, which was probably, I think, common at a lot
I
of
was
time, and
all
you
the time. Yeah,
you got like seven admits and you are like getting full scholarship. But at that time you were like, hey, I want to stay back in India to learn about India a little bit, and then you ended up coming to the US.
that's right.
Got it.
And that was a very good choice I made.
Hmm.
Fortunately, I was also very young.
Hmm.
That allowed me to learn India in the true sense of the term. And not Bengal, not Calcutta, India. Because
Hmm.
India It was an Indian company, and I was also fortunate. What I had at the when I was young, my parents were very, very clear that you're an Indian first. So every vacation, puja vacation and summer vacations, we used to go to different parts of India. So I developed understanding of Rajasthan as much as of northern part of UP, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So that connection with India as a it was a country. In fact, I was about to say as a subcontinent because my so happened my mother was born in East Bengal, which became now Bangladesh. That time it was East Pakistan. I went to Kharagpur, it was East Pakistan. But my mother came from Ceylon. So we had a
Interesting.
concept
So,
that
so help me understand. What did you say? So, Kharagpur was considered a part of East Pakistan at that time?
no, 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 I
Uh,
didn't say that.
yeah. Okay.
My mother came from uh, East Bengal,
Your mother came from East Bengal, which was
which became East Pakistan after during independence.
mhm,
And when I went to Kharagpur,
uh
East Bengal was still called East Pakistan. It was not called Bangladesh.
Oh, I see. So East Bengal was called as I see, East
East Pakistan.
Pakistan. It was
It
not
was
Bangladesh.
Pakistan.
Mm. Okay, got it.
Bangladesh liberation happened in 71,
Wow. And
1971.
so liberation happened 1971, and at the time, when did you graduate from Kharagpur?
71.
71. Okay, so in a way, your mother was coming from that side towards India,
That's
right?
right. And as a result, I developed more holistic understanding of the subcontinent from
Yes.
Afghanistan
Uh,
on one side and Myanmar on the other side,
mhm.
Kashmir to Sri Lanka. That was my concept of India when I was growing up.
Very cool. You know, I
And, you
think
know,
meet a lot of people from Bengal, I do see there is like this spirit of the culture, like they are very attached to there is like there is an emotional attachment to the land of Bengal. There is a that what's the sweetness in that in the Bengali that is there, and there is love and patriotism towards the country or towards the land that is there in people, which I mean sometimes may gets missed when people move abroad, and but there is definitely a connection which I see in like Bangla, Bengalis.
it's true, because if you listen to the songs of Bengal, which particularly evolved about 1850s to almost 1950s, 100 years. I'll recite one of them. I'll translate to English. One song which used to appear when I was only 4 years old. What is the song? O Thoko Bharat Lok. And Mother India, a Mother Bharat. Now Modi government is using the word Bharat, but in Bengal, Bharat was the term. O Thoko Bharat Lokhi. Or another place, another poet wrote, ভারত আবার জগৎ সভায় শ্রেষ্ঠ আসন লাভে, which means Bharat will once again take the most prestigious position in Assembly of Nations. So indeed, you're right. In Bengal, that spirit of patriotism, the spirit of India, and then Sonar Bangla, the soils of Bengal, and the Durga Puja, all creates a certain degree of spirituality with Indianness, Vedicism in the mind. I can speak definitely for myself, but
Mhm,
I'm nothing special. I think there are a lot of people like that in the eastern part of India.
mhm,
Keep in mind, Chanakya, these days we're talking a lot about Chanakya.
mhm,
Chanakya is from Pataliputra, eastern part of India. Chaitanya
mhm,
Mahaprabhu, Buddha, Bodh Gaya,
mhm,
so Ramakrishna. So there's some spiritual element to it, which I think helps people in that region
mhm.
not to think in terms of their own state, but think of the subcontinent.
Very cool, very cool. I think one question that comes to my mind when you share that, okay, there was this song which is about, hey, let's have the rise of India and, India on the world map in the essence of nations. If it's happening, like let's say you are saying about 1800s or 1900s in the human history, like I mean, and there was a time in the history when India was a world power, you know. So what really, where do you feel like we the disempowerment of India as a subcontinent started happening, which gave rise that okay, now people are getting united again, that hey, we should rise up together and we should support our subcontinent. Like what was happening in your understanding?
Wow, that is a very deep question. Very deep question. And fortunately, I have a point of view. But let me see, I can do it in 2 or 3 minutes. See, India's greatness, as I see it, was basically between, I would say, 5000 BC to 800 AD. And more so during the Vedic period, which was more in the BC, where Vedic philosophy, Upanishads, the university in Taxila and then in Nalanda, there was a spirit of spiritualism, intellectualism, karma, work, hard work. People look slimmer. If you look at the Ajanta cave paintings, everyone looked very slim, but with muscular arms and legs, both men and women. So I feel India was a place of action, spiritual development, intellectual development. Now, with the invasions that started happening from the Turks, the Mughals, the Persians, and then in the last 200 years, the British, so India's backbone got destroyed between 800 AD till about when we got the independence in 1947. So, mind you, that's 1200 years. Now, think of some individual whose backbone is continuously beaten. For 1200 years, basically, we're talking about almost 25 generations. Back to back, if you spoke in, let's say, Gujarati, if you spoke in Marathi or Bengali, you did not belong because you were not talking about the language of the ruler. The language of the ruler was always from outside. It was either Persian or it was Mughal, so the British. So when a country, common people feel knowing my mother tongue, which is ancient, is not enough. I do not belong. The country's self-confidence, Atmanirbharata, which our prime minister is talking about, gets destroyed. And that is exactly what has happened. It got destroyed century after century for about, I would say, close to 12 centuries. Now, that's a very serious torture, which Naipaul, in his book called Wounded Civilization, I can fully understand. We got too many wounds, too many trials, too many tribulations. Fortunately, we survive. We survive. Human beings survive. Some, but unfortunately, Vedic philosophy has survived. But if you ask me, are we practicing Vedic philosophy? The answer is no. Are we talking about Vedic philosophy? The answer is yes. We feel proud about it. But there's no feeling, no, it's not good to just feel proud about it when we are not practicing it. I see Vedic philosophy practiced beautifully in Japan, where people are humble, people are very action oriented, they honor their time, they honor each other, they honor the nature. That's what Vedic philosophy teaches. But look at India, we do not honor our commitments, we do not honor our timeliness, we do not honor cleanliness, we do not honor how we interact with each other. As well as we do not honor ourselves. I do not honor myself. If I do not know how to honor myself, how could I honor anyone else? And when I say I honor myself, so if I make a commitment to Vatha, it's important for me that I meet that commitment as opposed to creating excuses. So That is what I feel has happened. So we have to reestablish that spirit, but not feel good. Well, we were great once upon a time, so all hunky dory. And that I am afraid that is the spirit right now. People are saying, "Oh, our greatness is there. Our Vedic philosophy is great," but we are not practicing.
Hmm. So I mean, in a way, if we think about it, like since 1947, let's say, is when we were our empowerment started happening again. Okay, felt like, let's say, for 12 centuries, our empowerment went away, and now we are empowering. And now in the world, if we see about the India spora around the world, creating amazing impact all around the world, that just tells that even in like in a period of like, let's say, 70 years, we have pretty much been impacting the whole world through our thinking. And I mean, I don't know if thinking gets passed through genes, but I mean, in 70 years, we are seeing a lot of impact. Like, are you seeing like some gap where what the India spora is doing for the world, but it can do more if we take our Vedic philosophy along with it? Like, are you seeing a gap there, or like, what is that gap appearing to you?
It's a very good observation. Firstly, what you have shared, firstly, we should celebrate that yes, there are some Indians like you who are doing well, irrespective of where you are located, whether you're in San Francisco, or whether you're in London, Tokyo, or Boston. There are a lot of such people doing well. I would say doing well. Are we doing extraordinarily well? I would say no. There are some Nobel Prize winners, but in a country which has got 1.5 billion people, to have two Nobel Prize winners in the last 30 years, that's it. I think that too. Amartya Sen and then recently Abhijit Banerjee. Is that good enough? When I look at the Olympics, we are rarely picking up gold medals. A country like Japan has picked up 20 gold medals, which is 100 million people. China has picked up 40 gold medals. So I think, relatively speaking, we are not yet there. We have the potential, the individual success stories. Now, when you look at, let's say, companies, yes, the CEO of Google is an Indian, CEO of Microsoft is Indian, CEO of Micron is an Indian, CEO of Adobe is an Indian, and there are many others. I was a partner in McKinsey, but there are very few I would say, American or European partners. There were a few Japanese, and then my friend Rajat Gupta, Anupam Puri, later on Punendu Chatterjee. Some of us became partners in the early stages. Now there are many partners from India. So the point I'm trying to make, but we have not yet created Jensen Yang, the founder of NVIDIA, the founder of Yahoo, the founder of AMD's, the founder of Google, the founder of Microsoft. So I would say India respected its past based on Vedic philosophy when we are developing fundamental solutions, first of the kind in the world, serving the people at the base of the pyramid. Because mind you, I always see when we talk about Thomas Edison, we talk about Andrew Carnegie, talk about Bill Gates, talk about the Wright brothers, talk about Rockefellers, they solve problems of the society as they saw at the base of the pyramid. I think we have not yet done that. So my vision is of greatness of India, celebrating the concept of Vedic philosophy, but evolving business model, concepts of products, concepts of the solution, first of the kind for the country, and then take it to the world. Exactly what America has done. You know, if you look at Henry Ford, what was his goal? His goal was, I want to see every American can afford a car. And that meant reducing the cost of manufacturing the car by a factor of 10. Because the cars that were available at that time, in Germany and United Kingdom, that was not affordable for every family in America. But Henry Ford, in the process, developed the concept of mass production, redesigned the car which could be mass produced, and an average American can afford. It was not meant for the top 10% of America. It was average American can afford. Bill Gates, in the same spirit, thought, I want computer to be available on the desks of every individual. I would like to see we give birth to such a spirit where people are focused on the base of the pyramid, which is huge in India. If you look at the bottom 35%, we're talking about 35 multiplied by 1.5, which is close to 700, more 800 million people. 800 million people is double the size of the United States. Why are entrepreneurs not focusing in serving those segments? What we are creating is what we are learning from the West and serving the top 10, top 15, maybe top 20% of the Indian consumer.
So I think if I am understanding, you kind of mentioned, okay, when we look at India regaining its power or like, becoming self-reliant, I think athletics is one way to measure it, and we are seeing not much movement in there. In the intellectual horsepower, we are seeing movement of Indians to other countries, and we are seeing like they are succeeding. At the same time, the overall intellectual horsepower development at the ground level in India still has a long way to go. And then we can probably like say that okay, empowerment has happened completely. Like so empowerment is happening. There is no doubt over the last 70 years, but there is still a lot of work to happen in both the areas, correct?
That's
Yeah,
a long way to go, but we have begun the process.
got it. Very cool. So, Partha, coming back to your story, you kind of like stayed in India. How many years did you stay before you moved to the US?
Yeah, I have about 3.5 years.
Three and a
I
half years. You, yeah.
Yeah, 71 May, I graduated. I started working in June of 71 in
Mhm,
Union Carbide. And on January of 74, which was
mhm,
right in the middle of winter,
mhm.
came to MIT.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm going to ask you a lot of hard questions here. So, I see that a lot of Indians at that time moved to the US, and there must be something in you where in 1974, let's say you were like, hey, I got to move to America. I'm not gaining because as a human being, you also have needs of your own empowerment, your own growth, and you are like, I probably got to move. I got this scholarship, but I see you are like very connected to India now. So there is a part of you which is like, hey, I want to give back. It doesn't feel right. There is like a lot of those things that we all experience as we live our lives that, hey, it feels like I just took away and not able to give back. So help me understand in 1974, how were you feeling where you were like, okay, I got to move to US? What made you move here?
It's a very good question. Very good question. I think it was definitely not because I did not love India as much as I do today. The love was there. But there was definitely a sense of curiosity. Because mind you, in the 60s, that when I was growing up, there was the era of John Kennedy. Landing on the moon happened just the time when I'm on my third or fourth year in IIT Kharagpur. And then television was just about coming on, but you hear everything new to the world is happening in the United States. So naturally, eager mind was only 23, 24 years old, is asking the question, then what is it that we don't know or we don't do, which a country like America does? What is it that everyone wants to go to America? Why is it not the other way around? Everyone wants to come to India. Those were the questions in my mind. And what is it that Japan, in a very short period of time, after being bombed in 1945, between 1960 and 1975, introduced 100 brand names to the world. 100 brand names. 15 years. And keep in mind that we don't have yet a brand name which was born in India, celebrated all over the world. We have an Indian brand, one only, which was born in Boston, both speakers, as you know. That is the only name which, when I look at it, I feel good. But I go to a Japanese auditorium, I see Bose. I go to Vienna Opera House, I see Bose. You feel good. At least some Indian name is shown. But going back to the point, so that eagerness in my case, and I also knew that people who are doing well in India, it is better, it is their advantage is more if they have an American or foreign degree. That is the other thing, which also bothered me later on, that why I have to have a foreign degree to do well in my country. But India has that complexity that if you have been abroad, you are more valuable. And maybe there's a reason because India became very, I would say, siloed, and I would say kind of insulated from different things that were happening in the world because India was so much overruled, if I may say, by outside forces. So that drove my interest in 1974 as it asked me to move to the United States. At the same time, learn more about chemical. I was always interested in energy companies, in petrochemicals. Plastics were coming up, polymers were coming up everywhere. You see, whatever you touch is all chemicals. So that's how I think my
Thank you.
mind.
Thanks. Yeah, no, thanks for being honest. I think that's probably more of like what my reason might be when I moved here. It's just curiosity about learning about, hey, what else is there in the world? Like, I want to learn and, be a better human being. I want to grow as a human being, and that just drove me. And I feel like a lot of Indians are driven by the same mindset. It's not that they feel there is anything wrong with India. It's just that human curiosity is there within us, which is, hey, I want to see more of the world. And probably like maybe after a few years of being here, people are like, well, it's probably pretty much the same because now you have that curiosity be fed where you feel like, okay, well, I mean, it doesn't matter whether I'm here or there. If I'm able to contribute to both the societies, then I mean, I'm doing my purpose or I'm able to create value. So I mean, I mean, help me understand. Like after 1974, you went to MIT to do your to study there, and then yeah, go for it.
Well, I came to MIT to study chemical engineering,
Uh-huh.
and and I enjoyed every bit. First thing I thought was impressed me about my classroom. Two things: the professors, however smart they are, they're not saying I am right because I'm a teacher. He's facilitating us to think louder, think out of the box, encourage questioning. And I was also impressed how my students on both sides were so courageous on raising questions. Some of them are stupid, some of them are very intelligent, but that did not create any kind of hesitation on raising questions. And the professors never felt uncomfortable if someone raised a stupid question. He, in fact, encouraged him to speak out more till he realized the stupidity or it opened up a new direction of thinking. So that was the first thing. I was very impressed with the American classroom, particularly at MIT. And I could see even when I was in IIT, IIT was a fantastic place, but it was one-way communication. Teacher is teaching, student is taking notes, and then getting ready to take the exam after 3 months. We used to have 3 terms a year, so every months there was a yes. That's first. Second thing, as I started becoming familiar, I could see the freedom to choose. So when I was wanting to work on a thesis, I chose my thesis. I found my professor, and we worked together as partners on a NASA project in the chemical engineering department. So this is how my life started unfolding. I could see, and that's why I was very fortunate that I was exposed to the Indian working environment and Indian education environment, and I could see how things work here. And I did see that we have a long way to go. The way we work here, the efficiency, the timeliness, the quality of professionalism, uh, everything was different. And more I got absorbed in it, I obviously want to learn and want to be better. Then I went to business school. I was a joint program between Sloan School at MIT and Harvard Business School. I'm also in Harvard, but they are very close together as two. My bicycle has to started taking courses in both the schools as I finished my master's thesis in chemical engineering. So I got my MBA. And that's how my life evolved. And I realized that there is a significant difference in attitudes, ways of our working, professionalism, which makes the difference. It's not that Indians are less smart, Americans are more smart. They're all equally smart. God has given us same kind of talent, same kind of brains, but environment creates different attitudes, professionalism, and that's where I started getting more attracted. So from curiosity, it now became attracted. If you want to find yourself, work with the US company. So when I ended up joining McKinsey, I enjoyed every moment of the firm. People say McKinsey is a very hard place to join. It's very hard to join, very hard place to survive. But I enjoyed every moment. I was in my New York office, I was in Mexico office, I was in Düsseldorf office, London office, Paris office, Milan, and of course, long time in Tokyo. And the more I'm spending time in quote unquote the developed world, whether it's in Japan or Europe, in North America, I could start seeing what are the fundamental areas where India is behind. And and that picture changed, by the way. The picture that I had about India, that I left India, and by the time I reached Japan, and it was all very short period. 1974, I left India. By 1984, I became partner in McKinsey, and I was in Tokyo. In the process, I also finished 2, 3 degrees in Boston, in MIT and Harvard. But in this 10 years, the exposure in the university and the working life, I noticed, and my image of India I was about to share now was that India has to get in touch with its fundamentals. Fundamentals on one side is spiritual based. India knows what it is good at, and then fix the basics. It's not about money. I felt I feel it's not about IITs. It is we have to have millions of schools in villages, which creates aspiration in minds of the young people in every village in India. At clean schools, they would learn how to behave, how to stand straight, how to, we're talking about Olympics, how to run, how to swim, how to high jump, be interesting personalities. And that should begin when someone is 3, 4, 5 years old, across the board, not just in few cities, across the board. And that's when I felt we missed it and we were not talking about it because I started giving speeches in India in 1986 when Rajiv Gandhi came to power in 85. I delivered my first major talk in India, which was hosted by Ratan Tata, by the way. And I really miss him now that he is gone. But he's the one whom I met in Harvard when in 1976 he was part of the AMP program, Advanced Management Program. But I was a student, regular student. And we stayed in touch. But then he hosted a major meeting in Delhi, in a show hotel. I still remember the date, September 6th, 1986. It was Saturday. And we have invited Rajiv Gandhi. Unfortunately, he got stuck in Harare. There was a joint non-aligned movement meeting. His flights got delayed. But anyway, we had the meeting, which was hosted by L.K. Jha. L.K. Jha was the chief guest, hosted by Ratan Tata. And there were several other absolutely top cabinet members and the top industrialists of India. And there I spoke. I spoke of my mind, but by that time I was exposed to Japan. If India has to move, there were four messages. First, its strategy there has to be a strategy, not plan. A strategy which is which are the industries India wants to be number one, and the choice of industry be such that it is a labor-intensive industry where it can create jobs, but the products should be such that will be shining all over the world. So we will earn foreign currency and create jobs because our market may not be big enough because people do not have money in their pocket. There are a lot of people, but no money in the pocket. So we have to put money in the pocket by selling products outside. That was point number one. Point number two, to do so, we have to cultivate industries where we have the discipline and the quality sense in each and every term of the meaning, from how we bring in raw material, how it is processed, how it goes out to the market, following the Japanese TQC standards, total quality culture, not control, total quality culture across the board. That was my second message, which was exactly what we were discussing earlier. It is about building attitudes. It is about building consciousness about timeliness, cleanliness, and sense of excellence. Every person, not someone from the top say, oh, tikse karo. Right? It's so easy to say tikse karo, but the person is ordering doesn't know what is tik. What is the right way to do?
True. So, I mean, I see you kind of like you have been involved with India since, like, let's say, even after since graduation, then McKinsey, you still have been involved. So 1980s, 90s, you were deeply involved. Um, and you are seeing, I mean, let me ask you like about how AI is moving now, and AI pretty much automates a lot of software here. We are also talking about like, okay, we have this intensive labor, we have 1.5 billion people and to become like a powerhouse now or like self-reliant. I mean, if job creation is getting more and more automated with the robotics and AI, so what are the industries that come to your mind now where you are like, hey, this is what India should be doing? Where, because I mean, I think the whole game of population is like either you can turn it into a resource or it's gonna become your biggest problem. So how do you think India should be thinking right now in terms of turning it into a very useful resource for the entire planet?
Very good question. It's interesting. Only yesterday I was in a meeting last night on artificial intelligence and what does it mean for society. Now, I have a unique perspective, but in many ways it is not unique because we have been in such points of discontinuity before. Because when the machines, the tractors came in, people were very worried what happens to the farming population in Europe because 70% of the people were in farming in 150 years ago. When the tractors came in and then the automation came in, the transportation, people were worried what will happen to the horses and people will ride the horses. So, we go through such mega changes I would say these days, almost every 20 years, earlier every 50 years. Maybe now it will be more every 5 years. So when I think of India and employment down to artificial intelligence, I look at it with a lot of optimism as opposed to pessimism. How? Firstly, we should use the power of AI to speed up the education of the common people in each and every village in India. With equal quality, equal emphasis, AI can provide the intelligence, the 5G, 6G can provide the connectivity. So every village boy or a girl is learning something new using the power of AI in their mother tongue. Not, not in English, not in Hindi, in their mother tongue. Because first, every child should be able to respect their mother tongue. So if I am in, let's say, deep south in Trivandrum, and someone is in Tripura, east, the Tripura person speaks Bengali, And let's say there's a villager who is doing handicrafts, who makes baskets, and someone in Trivandrum is also making baskets. They should be able to exchange their idea through the cloud in their mother tongue. So I'm speaking in Malayalam in while making basket, but exchanging ideas with another basket maker in Tripura who is listening the same thing in Bengali, because I think Tripura's mother tongue is Bengali. So, but the cloud is doing the translation. So I think the first big thing for AI use would be empowering. You have used the word empowering several times. Empowering people to feel proud, to speak in their mother tongue, think in their mother tongue, yet exchange their ideas with the world in their mother tongue. Now, I on purpose use the term basket. I think if we are thinking in terms of manufacturing cars and electrical appliances, they will get automated. Why they will get automated? Because these are not our products. These are products coming from the West. So when manufacture, we will do how they manufacture. They are introducing robots, we introduce robots. Not a big deal. We often make a big deal of we are manufacturing cars. I would have happy if we manufacture cars which are totally different in look and feel and how they manufactured compared to the Western cars, for example. So Indian products, Indian handicrafts should be significantly promoted. So from this cup, which I'm using, which is made by a machine, very good Yeti cup, very good installation, I would make that handmade, but highly customized for Atal Agarwal, who would use the cup in California or in Florida or wherever you want to be. And you will treat it as an art. So India has that opportunity. We have to develop our handicraft skills, sports, because there is sports you have to run, culture you have to have. So these will be the source of employment where you will see automation will take over is the Western manufacturing models of car manufacturing, appliance manufacturing, bulb manufacturing, plastic bottle manufacturing. Yes, there will be less and less jobs. But handicrafts, by definition, is handy. But we should give him the power, AI power, to make sure whatever he is making with his hands is the power to make it perfectly well. I've seen that in Japan.
So I think if I'm understanding, you are saying the commercialization aspect can happen from the West, like, mass production. But you're saying where India has a unique point of view is the personalization aspect because of the labor that is there, and that personalization in the end, a human being wants to be touched personally, just like someone else care about it, irrespective of what we like in the world in terms of like, yeah, I mean bare minimum it is like, yes, can I have a cup, so maybe that is a commercial aspect which is like can be mass manufactured. But once we have pretty much like 100 cups out there, you are saying a personalized cup which is like crafted for an individual with thought, with a thought behind it, is where India can shine.
Absolutely. You have said it. Now, let me make another very important point.
Yes.
For the people who are at the base of the pyramid, we should encourage them to perfect their handicraft skills. They just use the cup. It could be shoes, it could be chappals, it could be clothes, it could be, wall tapestries, it could be cushion covers. You can go on and on. And that should be done perfectly so that anyone will feel proud to sell it in Kensington or Champs-Élysées or Fifth Avenue. It should be of that quality. And that's what we have to work on. On the other side, you made a very interesting point in the passing. Many of the products, until they become richer, people at the base of the pyramid, they may use products which is cheap, produced by mass production. So he's making chappals, handmade, which people like Taylor Swift would buy. $1,000, $2,000. But he's using chappals at the beginning because he cannot afford that, which are made by mass production, which is only 5 rupees. So he doesn't have to walk on the hot sun on barefoot. So this play to be very strategic. And unfortunately, India, that discussion is not happening. Where do we want to play the game by the Western rules? Where do we want to play the game by the Indian Vedic rules? And how do we create the interplay between the two so that we could really create a country, which is something, as I said earlier, Bharat Amar Jagat Shabai, Shrishto Ashur. It will take the most prestigious position in the Assembly of Nations. I think
Very cool.
that's
Mhm.
what I think is
Yeah,
required.
got it. So, Partha, just like help me understand now, going back to your story, 1970s, 1980s, you worked in McKinsey and you were a partner at McKinsey and how, till when you were in McKinsey and then you switched to your own company?
No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I spent almost 14 years in McKinsey, being
Hmm.
partner, associate, manager. We go through a very upward. So I was the senior principal at the Tokyo office. And then I asked myself a very fundamental question that our clients in Japan, I had a lot of clients in Japan, Asia Pacific, are they listening to me with a lot of seriousness because I'm Partha Ghosh or because I'm partner of McKinsey and Company? That was a fundamental question. I was always a very curious person, by the way. So I said, I can only find out that if I started my firm. And I did so. And that too in the most difficult place in the world where foreigners have a hard time in Tokyo. I headquartered the company in Tokyo. And I guess what? Within the first year, I had more clients than I could handle. I did not touch any of my McKinsey clients because we have an unwritten rule. If a senior partner leaves the firm, he does not go after the clients which firm developed or I developed for the firm. So it was a new set of clients. And I enjoyed that process and I learned more than maybe in the first 5 minutes. If you say, I'm so and so from so and so firm, it is easy to begin the discussion. But after 5 minutes, it's you. So I enjoyed that process. It developed me much more when I started my own firm. And how to earn the trust of a major multinational CEO, chairman, or board when you're calling Partha Ghosh or Partha Ghosh and Associates. In only in the first maybe 2 minutes, what do I say? That someone would take me seriously vis-a-vis being a partner of BCG or McKinsey or Bain. And I think that was a very good test. I learned a lot. In fact, most difficult pieces of work that I've done are the work that was I did when I was running my own firm.
Very cool. So you ended up starting your own firm. You got a lot of clients, and how long did you work for your firm? And
No, I,
um,
you
yeah.
I still have the firm, but firm has gone through different phases.
Mhm.
That's a very good question. Because I always believe consulting, like many other professions, is a very dynamic profession. I really wanted to evolve that way. So my goal was not to build a huge firm. Well, I have to have so much revenue. That was never the goal. My goal was only simple. I want to do high quality work, relevant work, and want to be trusted and respected by the clients that I serve, whether they're in Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, India, Korea, or United States. These are the area and Turkey. These are the regions I served as Partha Ghosh Associates. Now, that is the first that I wanted to pass that I should be accepted and my team should be accepted because of the problem solving capacity that we want to bring to play. So my model in the first 5, 6 years was similar to that of McKinsey. I must say, I learned a lot from McKinsey. That we will have a team, but my concept of the team was very different. My for a team that my firm provided was small. I created a huge team within the client who I treated as my team. They were fully dedicated 100% to work with our team. So in the meantime, I achieved two things. The engagements became much cheaper for the client because I was working with less people. Suppose in McKinsey, I had 7 people working on a team. Now I'm working with 2 from my firm, 10 from client, full time working. Now, what happens is the problem solving process gets internalized with those 8 individuals or 10 individuals from the client, they're working with us. So when we leave, the implementation process became easier. So there was 3 extra value added. One, we are working with small teams from the firm, so the others are learning. There's learning training. Second, implementation. And third, we have now 8 people who has now become extended part of our firm. We're talking to them. How is it going? And when they have another problem, they said, Partha, we have another problem. Can you come and look at it? So it became an ecosystem. So that was my first phase. So McKinsey, similar to second phase, I realized that a lot of the work that I'm doing will be more successful. I can do more interesting workshops. So from teamwork, I started doing workshops to build consensus between senior management on strategic development of a business or significantly changing the operational configuration of the value chain or developing leaders. So it became workshop based consulting that you facilitate a problem solving process as opposed to defining the solution. I developed that. And that's the time I moved to Boston because I could do that. Only me flying around. I shrunk my team
Mhm.
and it was basically done by me. And I
Got it.
enjoyed it because I also started teaching at that time,
Mhm.
MIT.
Very cool. So now I think we kind of walked through your journey of work. I think my question to you now is like you established this Partha Ghosh School of Leadership at IIT Kharagpur,
Academy of
um, Academy of Leadership. When did this thought started in your mind? And I'm curious, like, what is your definition of leadership, or like, what are you trying to create there?
Very good question. I want to again give you a short answer or a very long thought. My first opportunity to develop a leadership program happened in 1986. That time I was a partner in McKinsey. It was an opportunity offered by my senior colleague in the McKinsey Tokyo office, very well known person whom I respect a lot. His name is Dr. Kenichi Omai. Now, Dr. Kenichi Omai and McKinsey team, I was also part of that, was working with the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Mahathir. And that's where we developed what we call country strategy. That was Ken Omai's idea, the strategy for Malaysia into the future, 21st century. The work was done in mid-80s. Now, after the work was done, we're not getting into the details of the strategy. By the way, Malaysia has followed the strategy and it worked. The Prime Minister requested us that, look, this can only work if we can have 200 solid leaders who are the heads of state economic enterprises. So I was asked by Kenichi Omai, thanks for giving me that opportunity, that Partha designed a program, a 5-day program for the CEOs of state economic enterprises, which meant CEO of Malaysian Airlines, Proton Saga Automotive Company, Malaysia Telecom, and there were about 200 companies. We worked for the top 50. And these CEOs and chairman was there for 5 continuous days, Prime Minister requested them. In fact, Prime Minister attended the first opening ceremony, emphasized the importance of this training. So that was my first opportunity to think of leadership and what should that training be. And the fundamental emphasis of that time, mind you, I was 1986, almost 40 years young. Come to think of it, for 86 and now at 2024, 40 minus 2, 38 years young. But the program I designed was every great leader has to be very strategic. So one component was strategic problem solving. And they have to be visionary and how to communicate that vision. Third, they should be able to design organization which will help them to implement their strategies and move towards their vision. And it was a successful program, but it was, I would say, rather a Western way of organizing a leadership program. It worked very well, but I got interested in the subject even more. Leadership, what is leadership? The question is raised. As I started working on it, I realized what I developed in 1986 is necessary but not sufficient. It was 50% of the what leadership, what I understand today. So I have evolved. So the way I would develop or define leadership, leadership is a way of being where you inspire the environment in your presence, and those ideas that you leave behind is sustained and perfected in your absence. So there's much more meaning to it. That evolved in my mind over time. That it is not just being strategic, it's not just visionary, or that's important, necessary but not sufficient. Sufficiency comes when you have been able to inspire a group of people without pushing them, inspire them and lift them up towards a goal, and then do it in such a way that it continues to go on forever in your presence or in your absence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I love this. I love this definition that you have
But let me
about. Mhm. Go
add
ahead.
a
Yeah,
couple more. What you asked me, why did I get the idea of the academic leadership?
yeah, yeah.
But what I learned over the last 30 years, 35 years, that there is a significant leadership deficit the way I look at leadership. But when I discussed with the leaders, they all agreed with me, but they didn't know what to do. So then I started studying a lot about Vedic philosophy, Shintoism, Confucianism, Christianity, Christian philosophy, Greek philosophy, Roman philosophy, German philosophy. I really got into the subject from philosophical angle. And I realized the most important thing of a great leader is to be able to connect with their inner conscience. And that was Vedic philosophy talks about. So I said, okay, we have to develop a leadership movement for the world. And since much of the Vedic philosophy fermented in the plains, in the Indo-Gangetic plain, in the foothills of Himalayas for 5,000 years, let us establish this academy of leadership to create a leadership movement for the world. No other place than IIT Kharagpur, because that's where my first years of education, higher education, happened. Also, I've given a lot of emphasis to Hijli jail. We often do not understand how many people sacrificed their lives to make the country independent, and how many of them were executed and put in that jail. So, in their honor, in the honor of the spirit of self-sacrifice, independence not of the country, but independence of thinking, may God give us the courage to build this academy, begin this movement at IIT Kharagpur. So that's the background.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. There is like this thinking. I like the way you are like, you have established this more of internal internal thinking that you would want to see more of in the world, and that's kind of the vision with Academy of Leadership. I think we touched a little bit on this Vedic philosophy, which you mentioned in like, okay, originated in India, in like the north side of India, and you have read a lot of literature around it. What do you feel like is unique about that Vedic philosophy that that is like that we need to bring back now to create an impact in the whole world in how the world thinks, and like, as based on your experience in the West and the East?
Now, there are four Vedas, so there's a lot of teachings. But based on my readings of Vedic philosophy, unfortunately, I was exposed to Vedic philosophy and Vedic teachings, if I use the word, from my childhood. I was very lucky because in my home, there was a tremendous amount of, if you will, discussions between my parents and their friends on various elements of Vedic philosophy. So something got absorbed. Then I studied, but not as much as I would like to say. I would not like to take a position that I'm an expert on Vedic philosophy, but I think I got it. Based on what I've learned, there are five features of Vedic philosophy which stands out in my mind, and it is important for the world. First, Vedic philosophy says that we should all respect and harmonize with nature. So the relationship with the individual's inner self with the outer nature, which includes people, it includes the plants and the trees, the planet. I think that's point number one. As you know today, given the climate problem, given the human migration, given the wealth gap, that harmony is broken. We have to bring back that harmony. That's point one. And Vedic philosophy has been talking about it for many, 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 many years, 5,000 years. Second, Vedic philosophy says that time and space, on one side infinite, on one side finite. Finite in a sense, we each come to the world for a finite period in a finite space, which is our body, but the heart within is infinite. Now, Tagore again says beautifully, say it in Bengali. Do you understand Bengali Atal? Little bit, till Kharagpur days?
ইয়া, তাড়া তাড়া বলতে পারি না, অল্প অল্প বুঝতে পারি।
ঠিক আছে, এটা খুব ভালো লাগবে। He wrote, সীমার মাঝে অসীম তুমি. That means within the limit, you are the unlimited. Now that tells me a lot. That the second part of Vedic philosophy, that the God is within you, you come in for a short period, you have to honor each and every moment of your time and your life to serve people around you. But that spirit of yours will continue forever. And how it continues depends upon how, in that space and time, you have contributed to the Mother Earth, to the universe. Point three of Vedic philosophy, which I have always admired, is the point about believing that in each and every individual there is divinity, there is God. So treat everyone with that spirit. That I worship you, you worship me. And in the process, we create what I call the sense of mutual harmony, a symphony. A symphony which gets defined in various ways. If you're working in a company, symphony of a purpose, that this is what my company wants to do. And the economics comes later, the purpose of the company, that I want to introduce cars to all the homes in America, Henry Ford. Then he worked out how to make it sustainable. So you have to think of economics. As opposed to economics, I want to do this because I want to become rich. That's not Vedic philosophy. So that's the third point, right? Are you with me so far? It's a
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
deep question to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm yeah, understanding. Yeah.
The fourth point is even more touching, and I really believe in it, that we come to this world not to serve ourselves, to serve others and help others. So connecting with your inner conscience, the point we made earlier, and helping that inner conscience to be conscious about others' inner conscience, and in the process find ways to serve is extremely important. But the key point here is, how do you connect with your inner universe? That's where the concept of sadhana, concept of dharma, and as a result, meditation and yoga becomes very important. The fourth point. And the fifth point is, we all talk about it, but we don't practice. But Vivekananda is the best example. Swami Vivekananda, Karma Yoga. He particularly emphasized, and Gita talks about Krishna has repeatedly told Arjuna that you don't have to worship, you don't have to do mantra, you just do what I'm asking you to do, but full faith. So if you have to fight the corrupts, I want you to fight them. Do it with full dedication. So karma yoga to me is serving a purpose with 100% attention. And that's why I see total quality control belongs. TQC. Now I can take these 5 points, otherwise we'll have a separate session, and then talk about it, how these 5 points will be converted to management or leadership principles of the world. In fact, that's what academia is doing, by the way, academic leadership. We're taking these 5 points and converted them into programs,
Mhm.
specific programs.
Very cool.
Did I answer your
Now,
question?
now this is like a great in-depth conversation about like what is Vedic philosophy, because there are parts of this philosophy which I have read in other philosophies too. But just like listening from your perspective about how you define the Vedic philosophy and what you want more to be in the world, just like in the West as well, about what the message is there is about all these five parts of it. My last question to you is like, one a part of our the people who hear this episode is the students in KGP, and you probably have been connected through different sessions with them. You understand how they are living lives. I mean, when I went to KGP, I didn't see like there is much difference between the quality of students that was there during my time and now. Is still getting like some of the best people on the planet. What is your advice for them? How they can become like world leaders going forward? What they should do while they're studying.
You partly answered the question. If we believe, and I do believe, that we are getting the best people of the planet in one place, they have to prepare themselves these days. The 4 year, our time is a 5 year, 4 years, to spend each and every moment to be the best person in the world. So they have to ask each and every moment to be the best in my profession. How do I immerse myself to learn that profession, and then more importantly, apply what I'm learning to solve the real problems of the nation? Now, it is not fun. That's another reason I've done the academic leadership. When I see you're doing well, Akal, Arjun Malhotra is doing well, Vinod Gupta is doing well, Partha Ghosh is doing well, Rajat Gupta is doing well, but the India is sinking. Or 70% of India is not doing well. My doing well is irrelevant for the nation. I would like to see the current generation of Indians develops that empathy and true interest to solve problems in the Kharagpur area. If I'm there today, I will go to the villages and see what are the problems that they're facing. Could I design a product or a service which will make that particular problem a solution for that space and the world? The point I was making earlier about Henry Ford or Thomas Edison. So I would like to see that every young mind who are brilliant, as you rightly said, best in the planet, you said, then they have to believe they're the best and engage with difficult problems, not to assume that they will spend some of 4 years and join Goldman Sachs to become a high-paid uh, personality, or join McKinsey, or join Citibank, or join, I don't know, Union. Union Carbide is not there anymore. IBM or Microsoft or Google. That should not be the ambition. That should be the ambition of people who are going to second tier colleges. First tier universities, the IITs as we call them, their ambition should be much more transformational nature, that I want to solve a problem which has not been solved.
Very cool.
I want to engage
Yeah, go
with,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead. You wanted to finish your
yeah,
thought.
I
Go
want
ahead.
to engage with situations which others have not engaged with. I want to find
Mhm,
path which has not been traveled. Or I want to uncover, create new paths which did not exist. And
mhm,
unfortunately, we have examples in India which we do not know. I think the one person which is highly unrecognized in India, his name is Satyan Bose.
mhm.
You have heard about him? Others?
No, no, no.
The brightest, one of the brightest IIT alumni is you, but you have not heard about Satyan Bose.
Yeah.
So now that shows where the problem is. I hope
Yes.
you don't mind my
No, no, no.
talk,
I'm curious who
being
is he now?
very open.
Yeah.
The most fundamental particle of the universe is called boson. And boson is the particle through mathematical process was uncovered by Mr. Satyan Bose. And that's why it's called boson. And was given to the boson name was given by Albert Einstein. When he saw the paper, he said we should call this particle boson. Now, and it happened, he didn't go to Germany or didn't go to UK. He was in Calcutta University with his mathematical work. He came up with the concept of boson.
Mm.
The reason I'm talking about it, when people of our country has engaged, well, Raman Reyes, C.V. Raman, have you heard of C.V. Raman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of him.
Raman.
Mm,
Raman Reyes, again, Calcutta University, he developed whole theory of how the rays, he talked about the concept of Raman rays based on his work, which he did in Calcutta, celebrated all over the world. So I think we have to ask why that is not happening today. And we have more problems, more number of problems we have, more opportunities are there when the problem is solved. So
so
I
true.
think that would be my message for younger students.
Very
To
cool.
work on it.
Now, I mean, I think I like the idea that, okay, there are local problems in the region and pick those hard problems and solve it. Uh, I mean, I think there probably is a gap in like supporting those people in, like, I mean, how can we, do you think we can support them and empower them, to be able to do that? I mean, if that is something we found was lacking and we chose to come abroad, like, how can we support them right now, be able to do that?
Very good. That's a very good question. And that's one of the reasons I've done the academy. Academy is not Partha's wish. Academy I see is a way, the foundation, IIT KGB foundation. Instead of doing this, doing that, focus on the academy to help people, students become thought leaders, problem solvers, take on difficult challenges, and we support them, we mentor them, often fund them, but let academy provide that environment. And fortunately, the academy doesn't have any discipline focus. Someone could come from electronics, Someone could come from chemical engineering, someone could come from agro and create a product for the farmers which understand the chemistry of the plant, which understand the electronics, how that has to be utilized to sense the condition of the soil, and use artificial intelligence to evolve solutions from those soil conditions and make the farmer rich. The farmers of India becomes rich. You understand how the economy will grow.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is great. So I think what you're saying is this is how you look at the Academy of Leadership. That is like beyond just like helping people become leaders, is about supporting them, nurture their ideas, and helping them with funding at times, helping them with the guidance at times, helping them with mentorship. So everything is kind of like how you look at the Academy of Leadership.
Beautifully summarized.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I thought if you guys could begin the process, this movement,
Mhm.
I will I would like to believe you will do a great service to the nation. The nation deserves it.
Yes.
Last 75 years, if I had to summarize, as you took the session, yes, we have become independent, of course. Yes, there are success stories here and there. But a common farmer in Kharagpur or in Kanpur, outside of Pawan, or outside of Madras in Tamil Nadu, their lives has not fundamentally changed. Then
Mhm.
what are we celebrating?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we
No.
have.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Like, I think you're saying when we change the lives of these people, then we are truly talking about empowerment at the base of
That's
India,
the
and
real
that's where the
problem.
yeah.
I think
Wow,
we have
amazing.
empowered
Yeah, yeah.
the top 10%. We have educated the top 10%. Maybe they are empowered. And that's why they live. If you ask, I met a bunch of Indian students at Tufts University about 6 weeks ago. They just arrived.
Mhm.
I asked each one of them, why are you here? I'm hearing all these good things are happening in India. Why have you come here? Interesting. Systematically, everyone believes that there is not much opportunity. That's why we. But someone once had the courage to say, I don't want to do business the way my father does. What is that? He used a very nice term. There's too many short circuits that he has to develop. I don't like that. He used a very mild word, short circuit.
Mhm. Mm.
I immediately understood and I didn't want to continue further. But then others pitched in. I agree. I have the same problem. So this is what's going on. I would like this interview that you're doing. Uh, so I hope it will also reach the Prime Minister's office because
Mhm.
thanks to you, you have raised some very fundamental questions about how we could take India forward. And to be honest with you, many people in India, though they have the desire, they do not have the recipe because they're looking at the problem from a different perspective.
Mm. That's kind of part of our job here. Amazing. I think thank you so much, Partha, for your time. I think this has been really, really insightful to be able to look at your journey along with how you think about the World Academy of Leadership and supporting the next generation of leaders coming out of India and continue to give back. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With full reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.